Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On Wednesday, is it the 19th today? 19th? The 19th. There we go, December the 19th. Christmas is getting close. So, good to be here and everything like that. First thing I want to say is I'm going to call somebody out at the moment, and I hope they're listening to this. Samit, who is submitting these stocks on the forum. Man, I don't know where you're getting these stocks from, but I'd like to know because the volume of stocks that you're coming through with is absolutely unbelievable. I don't know if you've got some computer program that you're running or something like that, but over the last few weeks and months, obviously you're contributing a huge amount of stocks and some very, very good ones, but all of them are pertaining obviously to the strategy as well. So either you've got a watch list and alert set for thousands of stocks, or you've got something else going on there. So firstly, I'd like to commend you. Secondly, I'd like to know what you're doing. Okay, so either reply onto the forum or you can email me back from the email I send you. It sounds like you're either doing a hell of a lot of work there, or you're doing work a lot smarter than certainly I am. So, firstly, well done. Secondly, let me know what your secret is. Okay, all right, guys. But also, everybody who's contributing to this regularly, fantastic. You're going to get out what you put in. That is really one lesson I've learned. I mean, you guys are developing so much quicker than obviously how long it took me to become successful with trading, or consistent at least, before I even became successful. But you guys are flying, and I think obviously we put a lot of effort into the support there, but I'm really, really, really proud of you as far as the amount of work that you're putting in. And there's so many people who are interested in making money in the stock market, but so few people who are actually committed to taking action, investing themselves. Obviously you've done that, but then seeing it through and developing into a trader, as I talk a hell of a lot about, is a whole nother session there as well. So anyway, what we're going to get onto is the first one we've got here is BMO. Having a look here, we've got some resistance around about the 61.26 mark. Upward trending support line around about here. Pretty big stock. Nothing you haven't seen before. Let's have a look at what's done. It's put in some nice indecision that's come in here, a couple of red days. I would probably be, if I was looking to trade this, I'd probably be looking for a stop order on the stock, as opposed to a limit order. Obviously, it's already hit the resistance line, but there has been a little bit of a rally over the last few weeks. So if I was to get into this trade, I'd certainly be looking to use a stop order as opposed to a limit order. Obviously, more so. I mean, obviously it's hit that resistance line, but more so because I'd want to see a sell off in the stock before I actually got into the trade, just to protect my risk there. So that's BMO. Then the next one is COP. And we have some degree of resistance around about 59.30. A big gap here. I'm sure there was something fundamental that happened there, but if we zoom in, 59 down to some kind of internal support around about 55. Again, it was a big up day yesterday. So again, I'm looking for any confirmation on shorts. I'm looking for a downturn. So I'd need to get that downturn in before I actually got into the trade. Okay, then FINL. Now, again, folks, I don't take any notice of what people say on the forum as far as running their commentary, because I like to go into these things totally cold. Okay, so you might find sometimes that the person who's submitted the stocks on there has seen something different to what I have. I just like to go in totally unbiased and see what I see. I see a downward trending support line here. Maybe a day or two it's gone already. If it was to come back down to that support line, then possible, but I would probably expect to see it rally again today, particularly if there is a big market upsell. People would probably say, well, it's a downward trending support line. Yes, it is a downward trending support line, but again, the support line went from around about $19 down to just below 18 over the course of a year. That's not a huge downward gradient, so it's not something that concerns me a huge amount there. Then we had HPQ, Hotel Papa Quanta, downward trending resistance line, bounce. Having a look at the nature of the stock as well sometimes. See how it gaps down quite nicely. So something to be aware of if you're trading a stock like this is obviously what it's done previously. That's what we're looking for. And with this kind of stock, you would want to, well, certainly I would be looking to get in, make sure I got in at the right price, because if a stock gaps off the resistance line, and I'm not sure that this would happen with this particular stock, but if it does, you want to get in before the gap, obviously, because if you get in at the gap and it fills you at say 11.65 as opposed to 14.50, that really messes up all your ratios and stuff like that. Then we have Charlie Echo, Charlie Charlie Echo. And I saw some horizontal resistance around about the 32.30 mark. We've also got some upward trending support, but certainly not ready to trade now, so I'm sure that was brought in because of that resistance line. My concerns here is obviously it was a huge day yesterday. You're not going to trade that with a stop order. You're not going to, well, okay, but also the time frame is only from October, November, and December. Okay, so not something I'd be interested in from a very short, because the time frame is just too short to look at a trade like that. Then we had BA, who's bowing some resistance around about the 75.50 mark. A little bit of a gappy stock. It can move quite aggressively. It's moved up to that resistance line now. I wouldn't be interested there right now because there's still a pretty big day. If it was to put in, say, a little doji or something like that, give us a nice entry point, then it'd be a lot more interesting than what it is at the moment. TCB. Remember, folks, you make money on your entry. You know, a lot of people say you make money on property when you buy it. You make money on trading with your entry point. You get a good entry point, it can really change your numbers. This is TCF, and we have a pretty decent area of resistance around about just below the 12.50 mark. Again, we've got the 4 bounces, what we're looking for there. But I would be... Again, it was a pretty big day yesterday, a pretty big up day. I'd maybe want to see it settle on that resistance line and give me a nice tight entry point there. And yeah, then it would make it a lot more appealing. UTX. You see what I'm getting at here with these kind of presentations, folks, is all of these stocks, or the vast majority of them, are adhering to the rules, which is great. But really, and this whole express review thing that we've put together, that has really stopped people from having to worry about stocks to trade, because there's plenty of stocks to trade there. What I want to focus on here for you right now is refining your entry point and your trade management. That's really where it's at. So with these, obviously, because these stocks are coming up to support and resistance, I'm showing you really what my thought process is as we're getting up to the entry point. Trade management is much more for a call on the Monday night, because obviously then you're in the trade. Okay, if that makes sense. Here again, we've got some support around about the 72 mark. We've got resistance around about the 82 mark, so a pretty decent range there. Again, it was a very, very big up day yesterday. Very, very big up day yesterday. I would want to see it settle a little bit more on that resistance line to give me a good entry point. But you see, you just can't trade that off a stop order, because your entry point would be down like here and your stop loss would be 1% above the high there. So that's a big gap. You're not going to get your risk reward ratios, but something to watch possibly for today, if it gives you a nice little entry point, because you want to see some selling come in after a day like that. IGT. Downward trending resistance line, again a stock that has gapped down. I'm guessing that was probably around an announcement. Something else I'm noticing as well here, folks, is when a stock, and this is going to fly a bit in the face of controversy here, but with downward trending resistance lines or upward trending support lines, when there's like numerous days around here before the sell-off, what we're expecting to be a sell-off, I'd like it just maybe 1 or 2 days, 2 days maybe maximum, because if something's hanging around too much, I'm not too sure on it. But I have found that with horizontal stocks, it's not always a bad thing. You've got to have patience when it's hovering around. Sometimes it just takes some time to get going. So just bear that in mind, give it some thought, and maybe have a look at it with the stocks moving forward as well. Then we have an upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. Another big day yesterday, man. Big up day. Again, the stocks may follow the rules, but this is what it's all about as far as actually being able to select your trades like you would select somebody to date. You don't want to go just for whatever is out there. You only want to be very selective. You only want to go for the best, and that is just a killer entry point right there. It's way too big. It's really going to hurt you. Then we have APD. APD, some resistance at around about the, let's say just above the $85 mark, around about there. Short-term upward trending support line, some pretty decent support at around about 77.50. Yeah, nothing you haven't seen before. All very well. AVNW. Again, resistance around about the $3 mark. Very small stock though. You're also going to have to consider this as your stop loss above there, even though it was a freak day. But probably one to stay away from due to the size of it being below $5, certainly. BFS. Support line around about the $40 mark, pretty clearly defined, some bounces there, maybe some upward trending support as well, something like that, maybe some upward trending support, but we've probably missed it by a day or two. Then we have BONT, Bravo Oscar November Tango, some upward trending support here, some shorter term downward trending resistance line. Downward trending resistance is from a too short a time frame, it's only from September. Longer term upward trending support line, but again we probably missed that by a day or two on BONT. Be interesting to see what happens as it clashes with that downward trending resistance line now. BONT, then we have CC, upward trending support line, bounce, 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 bounce. I'd still consider this all as part of the same bounce. Okay, so you're probably going to have to use that as your stop order. Sorry, it's your stop loss if you were going to trade the stock. Be aware of some horizontal resistance line around about the $10 mark as well. CCCHK, some support around about 1660, some resistance around about $20. So yeah, that's about a 20% trade, really, isn't it? If you're looking for that. Also, some slightly the lows are getting higher, which is not a bad thing. What's that about? Delete. So maybe we could justify that as well. And again, maybe a stock is just that we've just missed out on. CHK, CL. Upward trending support, bounce, bounce, bounce. You see how these work so well, man? Just coming off that support line. Really, it's you know, it came and put in two dojis like that, and then buy on the break of that high, and hopefully away she goes. Then we have Charlie Oscar Golf. Upward trending bounce, 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 bounce. Some resistance here, just above there at about the $50 mark. But that is very short-term resistance. So, yeah, one you wouldn't want to be trading with a too tight a stop loss on that. If you did want to trade it. COG, then we have CRUS. Some horizontal support around about the $26 mark. Downward trending resistance. It's come off that support quite nicely. Pretty decent ratio on it as well. If you're looking at resistance, the first real line of resistance is around about here. Yes, there is a bit of a gap here, which would be the only thing that would concern me. But again, it's probably a little bit too late. Cruise CSCD. Upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. Yeah, nothing you don't know about there. FRP. Again, upward trending support line, bounce, 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 bounce. Again, it's just come rocketing off that support line, that little hammer there, and it's broken that hammer to get into the trade on the way up. FRP, then we had JA. This is one I got stopped out of a little while ago, actually. Probably a day or two ago, I think. But I got in. No, it couldn't have been this one. But this is a perfect setup. Look at this. It's sold off maybe one little day of a pullback there, and then it's put in that doji, and again, it's just rocketed off there. A big up day. Obviously, it did help that yesterday we had a big up day. Well, we had a reasonable move yesterday, most of the stocks. Then MRK. Upward trending support line, bounce, bounce, bounce. Again, affected by yesterday's move. Okay, then NTSC. Upward trending support line, bounces there. Being aware of this kind of stock, notice it can move, it can break below that support line a few times. So, again, when we're dealing with personalities of stock here, be aware of those. Also, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So I'm expecting a breakout one way or the other. The probabilities would be that it's going to be to the upside, because obviously the stock has been going up, but the shorter term trend is down. So obviously there's no guarantees ever in trading. Then we have PATK. Upward trending support line, bounce, 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 bounce. Again, a perfect setup Put in a pretty big day there, but again, as it's an upward trending support line, you're going to expect it to go for a longer amount of time up there. PDLI. Again, almost a carbon copy of it, upward trending support line. Be prepared to be in these trades for longer than the horizontal ones, because basically, you know, the stock can go up and it can come back down, and it's continuing to go up until obviously it has a change of personality, which we might have seen here because some of the lows are getting lower, some of the highs are getting lower, sorry, but nothing too extreme there. And again, I mean, it's come down, it's put in a sort of a slightly down hammer, then it's put in yesterday a doji. Okay, and I think that is a slightly up doji, so literally marginally up. Yeah, just a little. The close was just a little bit higher than the actual open. Well, no, it was exactly the same. Exactly the same. If you look at the top there, so if the entry point is going to be 1% above this bar here, and the stop loss is going to be 1% below there, then that would be that would probably be how you're looking to trade that stock. If you were looking to trade it, certainly not a recommendation. There's other things you've got to look at there. VMI, again, upward trending support. Let's have a look at the entry point. You see the highs are getting higher as well. It's a nice little indicator we're looking for, and it's come in, it's put in a couple of days here. This would be the bounce, so your stop loss would have to be below the low of this bounce, and obviously you would want to get in above the break of the high, so to get into that trade if you wanted to trade it. VMI, ABFS, downward trending resistance. You see, folks, we don't have that excuse now that we don't have longs and shorts. We've got longs and shorts to be able to trade. Now what we've got to get you doing really well is just your entry points and your trade management, and then you are sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, making 10% a month. No, not really, but you know what I mean. Okay, all right, and then we have come up to that resistance line again. It's put in a little doji there. See, if you had to use that doji there to get into, it would have been a perfect entry point, but I'm guessing 1% behind, that would have got you stopped out there. But you see, again, I mean, that was a perfect entry point. But again, this is a circumstance where the stock actually went higher, so it probably would have got you in and got you out at the same day. That is the risk that you're running. But again, if you're looking at how small your actual risk is, it's tiny compared to if you were taking it off that entry point. So let's say you took it off that bar there, it's 1% below there, 1% above there. But if you compare it to the previous day, it's 1% below there and 1% above there. So you can see, obviously, you're dealing with a much bigger entity here than you were here. Okay, so much bigger risk. But there we go. Then we have a poll. Downward trending resistance line again. Another stock, be aware here, another stock that has gapped off the resistance line before. So that resistance line we can extend there. It's gapped down there. It's gapped down there. Then a gap down there again. Be aware of these. It's the personality of the stock. Doesn't mean it's going to definitely do it. No. Has it done before? Yes. That's all we know about the stock. Okay, so it has gapped down before. If I was looking at trading this, I'll be very, very aware of getting in before the gap happened, if it was going to happen. But that's given you a huge up day there. An absolutely huge up day. Okay, so I wouldn't be ready to trade that stock now. I'd be looking for a tiny little doji, ideally a slightly down doji, if I was going to trade that stock. But again, you know, with the market slightly rallying at the moment, could be interesting. ATMI, Alpha Tango Mike India. What we've got here is some degree of horizontal resistance around about the $20 mark. We could possibly even have a downward trending resistance line there, two of those together. It is, you know, you get the shorter term and the longer term downward trending resistance line together, plus a little entry point like that. Yeah, it's clear zoom. What we got there is a ratio. I mean, it's 20, so there's a bunch of 10% on there as well. Yeah, you know, depending on what else you got in your stocks to watch there, could make some sense here. It's all about the entry point. Get those ratios right, folks. You never know what stock is going to make the money for you, but as long as you've got ratios, something's going to work out for you. This is a little bit scrappy. I would probably want to see it rally up a little bit more because of what happened here. Again, a stock that gapped down, but probably just a little bit too scrappy for my liking. McDonald's. And then we have Sierra Tango. Some resistance around about the 32.50 mark. Yep. Again, entry point, entry point, entry point. You would be amazed getting a nice tight little entry point, tiny, tiny little entry point there. Limits your risk significantly. And when you get one that goes for you, hey, happy days, happy days. Best Christmas present you get all year, possibly. Then we have the Manu Life Financial Corporation. Now here's a little bit of trivia for you. Manu apparently means shark in Hawaiian. How's that? And we got some resistance at around about the $14 mark. It's rallied up there. You got 1 bounce, 2 bounces, 3 bounces. So obviously it's not ready to trade right now, but you may want to keep an eye on that and see where you go from there. Again, 40. I mean, that's a pretty big, some support, internal support, possibly around about that area here. Possibly around about there. Okay, so yeah, there we go. That's pretty much it. Okay, folks, well, listen, I really hope this has been helpful for you. If you like the video, then feel free to like it on YouTube, and that's great. But I will be doing this again on Friday morning, so we'll do some more reviews. I'll continue doing these reviews for you throughout the Christmas period. I will also be doing them whilst I'm out in South Africa. I'll still commit to some work whilst I'm out in South Africa, whilst I'm on holidays. But yeah, so I just won't be taking the webinars and stuff like that because I will be out partying, no doubt. Anyway, folks, listen, have a great week, a great day. I hope it all goes well for you in the market as well, and speak to you very soon. Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.